show. The Houston Rockets beat the Los Angeles Lakers tonight, 115-96. They got game 4. The series is still 3-1 in the Lakers' favor. I'm your host, Alexis Morgan, here with OG and veteran writer Zach Harper. Zach, we have been watching a lot of basketball tonight. How have you been doing?
I've been great. I really expected us to break out the brooms and say goodbye to the Rockets, but they fought hard. They earned another trip to LA, and so we've got more basketball there.
All right, let's take a look at some highlights of this game right now. I was in agreement with you. I thought that we were going to have a sweep tonight, but the Rockets came out fighting. We love to see it. They got one. DeAndre Ayton, 19 points for the Lakers. Tari Eason, 20 points for the Rockets. And all 5 starters were in double digits for this Rockets team.
Yeah, you saw, a real complete effort offensively from them. Not a lot of passing, only 19 assists in this game, but they were really good inside. They really attacked the paint a lot in this one, knocked down some shots from the outside, which was big for them. It's not a great three-point shooting team, especially without Kevin Durant in the mix for this game. He's got that bone bruise that he's dealing with. So without him, you really need other guys to step up and make shots, and they did that. They were 12 of 30 from 3. Not an amazing night shooting the ball in terms of volume, but that's 40%. That's really good. They'll take that in every single night. And then they were able to just create, you see the turnover there in the fast break points. They created 17 live ball turnovers, 24 turnovers overall for the Lakers, gave up 30 points off those turnovers. Rockets were able to get out and run. The one thing we talk about with this young Rockets core is they're so athletic. They're so good at getting out in transition when they do force turnovers. They had that recipe tonight, and that's why their season's still going.
What was the energy shift, do you think, from the first 3 games to game 4 for the Rockets?
We talked about this earlier with the 76ers and the Celtics, and the Tyrese Maxey saying, all right, next game, we've got to play desperate because our season's on the line. Well, the Rockets played desperate in this game. Their season was on the line. They lose. They get the embarrassment of being swept. You don't want to do that with the season that you're supposed to have. The season that they did have was very good. It wasn't maybe up to expectations, but back against the wall at home, they were able to, show some pride, show some desperation, get some really good basketball going on the defensive end of the floor that fueled the offense. We haven't seen that defense from them that we expect throughout this series. There's a bunch of reasons why, but they played it tonight, and that was important.
And we'll probably get to the box score here in a moment, but what one player stood out for you on the Rockets team?
To me, it was Amen Thompson. He was just dominant throughout. He was so good at, forcing the issue on the interior. He hit a couple of shots outside the paint, but pretty much everything he got was at the free throw line or in the paint. And then he did a good job. I mentioned not a lot of assists in this one for the Rockets, but he did a good job distributing the ball. So when he's able to have a dominant athletic performance like that, it really does emanate to the rest of the team. And I think that's the guy that stood out for me in this game.
Take a look at those stats right there. And now we're going to hear from Rockets head coach Ime Udoka.
Much different look tonight. Everything seemed to really click. Just what did you like about your team's resiliency and what you saw overall tonight?
I think our aggressiveness was on display from the start. First time holding them outside of 30-point first quarter, so much better effort there, defensive intensity across the board. I loved our ball pressure, forcing 24 turnovers for 30 points and 17 of those being steals, so our activity was great, and that's made the difference from the start.
You just talked about the intensity. Can you talk about specifically Jabari and Tari's defense on Marcus Smart and LeBron James? They held them to 5 of 17. They seemed like they were really good, especially at the point of attack.
Yeah, they were great there. I think you can throw Kennard in there as well, going 3 for 8. So those guys scoring 10, 9, and 7, respectively, was great. A little bit of everybody doing their job, a lot of switching, but the focus was better. Sending guys where we wanted to, making the ball, find other guys. And, when you got Aiden and Hachimura shooting the most shots, I think you're doing a good job with that.
Coach, there were a few small ball groups that prior to this game had only played like a few seconds, but in terms of what you saw from them, can you talk about that aggression and the ability to cause chaos?
Yeah, the switching was good for us, even with Alpi, and I think we went to more 1 through 5 switching, and he was doing a good job there. But, yeah, so, of course, we like small, and the fact that some guys are out, obviously Kevin, we can activate Dorian and certain guys, so there's going to be some lineups that we haven't seen as much of. And No drop off there. I think everybody that came in contributed. Defensive intensity, like I said, was on point. Focus was good, and that's the result you get holding them under 100.
Ime, is this kind of what you've been telling the guys to do all along? Just lean into defense when you don't have Kevin or you don't have some of the other offensive things going?
I mean, in general, I don't think our defense has been terrible this series, but we knew we could do better. And when you see the numbers for James, Kennard, and Smart, and obviously holding those guys out of the 20s is a better job. And so nights where you don't shoot it great, you can still rely on that. But when you shoot it like we did tonight at 48 clip and play defense like that, you're in good shape. And so I think, regardless of Kevin being there or not, we've guarded well enough, but we felt we could take it to another level. And I think the switching has done that for us.
Over these last two games, Tari has kind of taken on the LeBron defensive role primarily. What do you think about the job he's done, in particularly just creating turnovers the way he has?
Yeah, his activity's great. Outside of some off-ball fouls, when we got to avoid winning the bonus, he's doing a good job denying, pushing the catches out, being solid, and making them score through him and over him instead of getting by him. And so doing a really good job there. Josh was okay to start the series, but Tari's length is a little bit different. And then we are going after him a little bit more as well and trying to make things tough there, knowing he's a good facilitator out of the post. But a lot of that, when Tari's on him, we feel comfortable going one-on-one.
How proud are you of the grit your team showed tonight and being able to get this win, especially after the last game and not letting that linger?
Yeah, it was great. I think we said we didn't want to let that last 30 seconds defeat us in another game, and we kind of put that behind us. The focus was good today, and I think just in general, guys have pride, and so you don't want to obviously get swept and give ourselves a chance. But we understood how well we played last game, and that was the big picture. The perspective we had was, we played a really good 3 quarters. Don't let that last 30 seconds take away from what you did, and I think it was good carryover tonight.
Do you feel like your group has a certain swagger and energy when Tari in particular is playing well and kind of feeling himself?
I mean, yes, he does what he does. I mean, half the stuff is outside of the game plan. He just kind of goes rogue at times, and you got to turn a blind eye to it a little bit. But he's really good at what he does. And I think our group in general, shots are falling, feel better. And so you see the numbers tonight, the shooting percentage go up for everybody. And felt like we were missing a lot of good shots, but you see them start to fall. You get more aggressive on the defensive end, and then it starts clicking. Ball movement was great. Aggressiveness on the other side was great, but it's good to see shots going for Reed and Alpi and those guys, and Tari does what he does.
You talk about Tari going rogue. What does that look like in games, and how does it impact the game in a positive way for you guys?
He's just a playmaker, a disruptor, and some of the natural instincts and the things he does, you can't really teach. You want guys to be solid and follow the game plan and all that, but certain guys do what they do, and you're going to get burnt every now and then, but more often than not, he'll make the right play, get a deflection, get a steal, and so Tari being Tari, you got to let him do what he does.
You talk about wanting to move past the end of Game 3. Is there still part of you that's like, man, if we close that out, we could be going back to L.A. tied 2-2?
Well, of course, that's going to be in everybody's mind, but it is what it is. We lost that, and the main thing was getting this one tonight. And like I said, looking at the positives in that last game. Of course, it could be a different thing if we finish that game, but we found some things, and confidence is rising. Momentum hopefully is on our side with that, and just continue to carry over and do what we did tonight and really last game.
Ime, I wanted to clarify Kevin's prognosis. Is there a possibility we see him during this series?
Yeah, possibility for sure. I think you're just looking at the time frame of that specific injury and what it takes. But I didn't know how bad it was initially, like we said, and then you got that prognosis. But he's doing what he can to get swelling out, mobility back, and just like the knee, we weren't sure when he was going to come back, but he snapped back pretty quickly to be available for Game 2. So it is a true game-to-game, day-to-day thing.
You're able to see a replay of Aiton's elbow to Alpi. I wonder what you thought of that play and some of the chippiness there late.
I mean, it looked intentional, but I was surprised at the flagrant too, but that's the NBA nowadays, and they call it a little softer than they used to.
After the Lakers emptied their bench, Dalton Knecht hit that 3, and then you called the timeout. You guys kind of regrouped. Just curious on what the message was to the team in that moment, knowing that you guys have had some struggles closing out games. Yeah, stay locked in, stay focused what we were doing. I felt we had 3 possessions in a row that we went in isolation instead of what we were doing, playing with the pace, getting the pick and rolls and getting the off-ball movement going. And so just because they
take their guys out. We want to stay focused and locked in on what we do. I didn't love our three offensive possessions, and then he gets that, and just a quick reminder of what we've seen in the past and locking in, getting back locked in.
Coach, I know you talked about the team being able to flush out Game 3, but how impressive was it to be able to see a young player like Reed, who is, like you said last game, him really getting his footing in these playoffs now, but him to come out as aggressive as he was, and he looked like he took playing defense up to another level tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I felt good about his approach to it. He's obviously frustrated, and on this stage, having a crucial turnover stands out, but I didn't feel like it was going to linger with him and what he does on the offensive end and defensively as well. He wanted to switch a little bit more and get out of some coverages that had us in rotations at time. And so there's going to be some cross matches in the post, in transition. They got a few heads, early deep seals, but he's fighting more, doing his part as far as that. And then offensively, like I said, I don't ever think he loses his confidence, make or miss. He's getting really good looks, and could be a different series if he was knocking those down, but good to see it going now.
And franchise playoff record for you guys with 17 steals. How important is that to kind of fuel the transition offense and get you guys some easy looks?
Yeah, I mean, it just shows our aggressiveness on that end.